Everyone loves the Impressionists. We're familiar with them. We understand them. What we forget is that they're a watershed, and forever after, the story of painting is different. When Impressionism began, it caused something of an art revolution in Paris. But unlike political uprisings, this revolution was started accidentally by a man who simply wanted to paint the world around him as he saw it. Edouard Manet was an elegant, upper-class gentleman. He didn't mean to cause offence, but his paintings had a raw power, which in an over-civilized age seemed shocking. This was the painting that scandalized Paris. Shock, horror, hysterical cries. And in a way, you can understand why they hated it. Because what Manet has painted is a modern woman, a prostitute. Here she is, a sight many viewers of this picture had seen when they went to visit their own mistresses, but of course, this was never mentioned. So hypocrisy was exploded. And she's looking up with great aplomb to apprise the man who's entering, not there for his appraisal. Now, this was all very shocking. Not only a woman daring to look with that measuring glance at a male, but a fallen woman. This was simply not on. Now, that, if one has imaginative sympathy, one can understand. But what baffles me is why did they not see how beautiful it was? That trim little body. They called her a puny prostitute, and that firm hand held on her thigh they compared to a hideous toad. And why can't they see the pathos? I think all summed up in that little kitten you can just see peering there out of the darkness, so angry, so unaware that it's helpless. A blow, a kick, goodbye, kitten. And that's true of Olympia. She's so in command, she's so self-assured, and she's so vulnerable. Manet saw all this, and I think the Parisians saw it too, but they didn't want to. Manet became the center, however unwillingly, of a group of young artists who saw exactly what he was doing. They caught fire from him, and they'd become known as the Impressionists. They started to paint outside. New inventions like portable easels and ready-mixed tubes of paint meant they could abandon their studios for the open air. They wanted to catch the single moment, a snapshot approach. Impressionist paintings are all dashes and inspiration, spontaneous but unpolished. Visually, you can see why Monet and Co. were called the Impressionists, because this is an impression with all that squiggly red and that sort of vague brightness above. But technically, it's because Monet used to give long, involved titles to his works. And his friends suggested he make them a bit more snappy. So not wanting to call this View of Le Havre with boats setting out and masts seen in the distance, he called it Impression Sunrise. And then the critics took the ball and ran with it. But in the end, sheer quality triumphed, and the public began their long and lucrative love affair with the Impressionists. Claude Monet, the young revolutionary, became rich, famous and respectable. He bought a house at Giverny, near Paris but in the country. Planning his garden became a passion almost equal to painting. It was said of Monet that he was only an eye. Ah, said Cézanne, but what an eye! Monet really saw. He saw things that people had never seen before. The colour of snow, the colour of shadows, the colour of water. He was intent on capturing every flickering change of light, every fleeting moment. And this is never more exhilaratingly shown than in his last great series, The Water Lilies. When I come in here, I feel disorientated. It's too big. I can't take it in, which means, of course, I can't control it. And I feel not so much I'm looking at it, is that I'm looking in it. And what are we actually looking at? Well, we know that this is Monet's beloved pond at Giverny, or rather, the surface of the pond. Now, to be honest, he didn't actually sit outside there painting it. He was too old and the canvases were too big. So he built great big sheds and he painted it there, but he didn't really want people to know that. But he didn't cheat, because year after year he'd looked at this surface reflecting the clouds, the sky, the trees, the foliage, the water lilies. It's intensely exhilarating to see it. It's a long, long time since I went swimming. But when I'm here, I feel I'm swimming through the blue brightness, looking up, or floating over the blue beauty, looking down, set free. Oh, and I can understand why people come here, just to stand, silent, being liberated, being set at peace. The Impressionists created a dreamy world of sunlight and pleasure. Here was real life, but only at its most beautiful and charming. Why shouldn't art be light-hearted? I can imagine Renoir asking that question. He paints a world without sadness, where there's nothing dark or sinister. I'm afraid I'm one of those unfortunate people who are not wildly enthusiastic about Renoir. For me, personally, his colours are often too pretty and sweet. However,